Hi boys and girls, it's Show back with another video. Today we are looking to cover the Chelsea and Manchester City game. Massive game at the weekend. Really sort of the two standout teams maybe for the league this season, along with Liverpool so far you would say. And yeah, Chelsea, I mean, most people's pick now to be the main challenger, if not the favourites, in terms of their early form and how they've gone about their business so far this season. City, bit indifferent in their form. Moments where they've been their old self, and another moments where you can hardly recognise them. So it is interesting to see which City might turn up at this weekend. But in this video, we're looking to cover, maybe our combined 11s for the game. And then have a bit of fun with the formations, the players, and maybe a bit of the tactics and who we think might stand out in the game and those sorts of things. Okay, so without further ado, let's get on with this one. So in front of me here we have the BBC Sports pick your combined 11. Bunch of formations, as you guys probably know. You've probably done this before. I mean, I've always wanted to play around with these and have a bizarre formation like this one. Let's be practical here. So we're going to go with a 4-2-3-1. That's the obvious formation, I think, in terms of mixing some of the players up from both teams. So let's crack on with the goalkeeper. We've got, obviously this is a straight shootout between Ederson and Edouard Mendy. Do you go with the player that's done it over a certain number of seasons, or do you get a player that seems to be in top form really? Kepa played in the last game, didn't he? Because of Edouard Mendy had a slight injury knock as well, so it'd be interesting to see if he's fit for the weekend. This one's a difficult one. I think in terms of who I'd want sort of playing out from the back, a guy that has been relatively consistent, got the Golden Glove last year. I know Edouard Mendy's on the rise and got Champions League Goalkeeper of the Year because of Chelsea's performances as a collective more so over the course of the season. I'm going Ederson. I'm not going Edouard Mendy on that one. Right, let's move on to this defence here. This is challenging, this, isn't it? Bunch of names on the list here. I mean, it depends whether you want to squeeze like an extra centre back who you think is the better player. Tell you what, get out of here. Do the obvious positions. Let's get Lukaku in up front. Easy. Left back's easy for me. Obviously you can see the options we've got here. Chilwell not getting a look in this season. Alonso's obviously started the season terrifically well. He had some interesting things to say about his reason for not taking the knee. Be interesting to see how certain people react to that going forward for the season. This one, I think this one's pretty easy. I'm going to go Marcus Alonso on this one. You've got to base it off form as well. Centre backs. Now City have got injuries in this position. The question is, who do you think has been Chelsea's standout centre back in terms of the way they set up as a formation? They've got Rudiger, Thiago Silva, Christensen, Azpilicueta sometimes in there. They sort of alternate who they play there. Christensen's usually the one that plays down the middle. He's the one that's most sort of competent playing into midfield as well. So very much plays more the kind of like Bonucci role in terms of a kind of a free central defenders at the back. But obviously I'm selected a 2 here. So the first one that we've got to go for is Ruben Diaz. That's clear. And then I think the standout centre back so far for Chelsea has been Rudiger, so that's who I'm going to go with here. Rudiger and Diaz is the centre back partnership. I'm not sold on the right hand side. I think Walker's had some good games, and he was poor last week against Southampton. Almost conceded that penalty, got a red card, but that was later rescinded by VAR. And then I've got to get João Cancelo in, haven't I? If it was 5 years ago, I'd go Azpilicueta at right back, because obviously now he's been more converted into Tuchel's system and in the three central positions. João Cancelo, he's like different class, so dynamic. So that has got to be my back four. into the midfield. This one's challenging as well because obviously you got to think the injury troubles City have had mainly. It's mainly been City. That's partly why they've had in different form. They've had different personnel at different points of the season. So it is a tricky one in terms of getting, so many good players into this team, and obviously for it to kind of make sense as a formation as well. So in midfield, gotta go Kante, and then what do we reckon here? This one's a bit more difficult. Kante's the obvious one, got to go in. Now, ideally, you'd probably pick just the Chelsea midfield. I think they've worked really, really well together. I think they've figured that out. That was a question mark for me last season. I think partly because Kante's injury troubles, but I think one of the reasons why they picked up Sal Niguez on the loan to buy option was to sort of manage Kante's minutes a bit. He came off early, I think it was in the Cup midweek, and it's all deliberate because he covers so many miles. He's so important to the Chelsea setup that you can't lose him for any kind of great deal of time in the season. So having a bit of game management is wise really for a player like that. Who do we reckon here? It's definitely not Sal Niguez, I can tell you that. I think we've got to go. I think we've got to go Chelsea midfield here. Let's go Jorginho and Kante for the start of the season. They've been dynamic together. Early on when Sarri first took over and brought Jorginho in from Napoli, you didn't really see how they fit because he was so desperate to have Jorginho and obviously a deep line playmaker, anchoring that midfield. But then he was using Kante as a guy that pressed really high up the pitch. But they weren't near each other. There was too many gaps in the way they were playing. So because of that, Jorginho he's not an athlete like Kante. So and he's not one of those kind of like tall deep line playmakers like a Busquets or a Rodri, for example. Carrick before and stuff like that. There are some playmakers that have got long legs, and because of that, they're able to cover ground more than you think. They're not known for obviously being an enforcer or a destroyer, but they're good at just sort of intercepting and at least getting themselves into right positions. So Jorginho definitely gets exposed if Kante goes too far away from him, but now they seem to be just quite close to each other at just the right time, as they really know each other's game really well after playing with each other for a few seasons, and now it just looks like a perfect partnership. So I'm sticking to it. I don't see the point in putting a City player in. De Bruyne's not played enough so far this season, and Rodri is going to be out injured for the weekend, and that could be crucial as well. So that's going to be the duo there. Now this one's more difficult. I've watched Chelsea a bit this season. I know Kai Havertz has started well. I don't think they're like Lukaku has been their standout performer in attack. I think the others just do jobs personally in terms of the way they fit in their formation, work hard off the ball and things like that. I think at City they're a little bit more standout. I think we've got to get Havertz in here, but now we've got to go Mount and we've got to go English duo. I think here. Let's go Mount. He's a consistent performer, presses really high, does this for England and for Chelsea, rarely gets left out, and this is the reasoning behind it. He's so consistent, like a consistent sort of 7 out of 10 player, and has a bit more quality than people realise as well. So he's going to be my choice. And then this one's easy for me. I think he's had a great start to the season for City. Jack Grealish. I think he's certainly taken on responsibility. Some of the other sort of wing players as well haven't really sort of stepped up with him. I think, obviously Ferran Torres, I thought was the standout performer. Then I don't know whether it was injury issues. It could easily have been that could have easily been the case. But he got left out against Southampton and then didn't even come off the bench, which I found just incredibly bizarre. Because I think he's turning into their key player, Ferran Torres, in terms of the way he plays. I think he plays the forward position how Pep wants it to be played in his formation. Even better than Gabriel Jesus, arguably. So Yeah, I mean, Jesus obviously been effective down the right-hand side, but I'd rather have a recognised player in this formation, so I'm going Mount there. Yeah, I think this one's easy for me as well. Yeah, actually, I'm backing out of this. Let's go. I think let's get where the hell is? Yeah, I know what I want to do here. Let's switch this up to Bernardo Silva and get Mount through the middle. There we go, perfect. Bernardo has been quality. He was the other winger that's played well, and I say winger. He operates obviously in wide areas as well, but obviously he's more recognised for going into those sort of pockets and positions. And I think City, they have some seriously good players at that, and that's where they're going to be effective. De Bruyne now fit, Bernardo Silva fit, Gundogan is another one. They get into those little areas that you don't want to be in, the pockets as a defender. You don't want them there, and Bernardo Silva. I mean, he works so hard off the ball as well. Like he's one of the harder workers, and has the class as well. And he started off the season like he means business, because I think everyone thought he was going to leave. And he may still leave, but he's certainly putting himself out there to show that he's still got value in this league and then obviously in this City side as well. So I'm going to give him his flowers. Bernardo, this is my team. Okay, so we've got 4-2-3-1. We've got Edison in net, Cancelo, Rudiger, Diaz, Alonso, Kante and Jorginho, Bernardo Silva, Mason Mount, Jack Grealish, and Romelu Lukaku. What do you guys think? Do you agree with that one? Stick your thoughts in the comments. Maybe put your formation, put your players in there as well. Right, so if we move on from this, just briefly, we'll touch on obviously the game itself. I mean, if we just look a quick look at their results and their heads-to-head. I mean, between Pep and Thomas Tuchel, their heads-to-head is 4-4. Can't split them. The head-to-head between the two clubs is very, very tight as well. This is obviously the sort of key thing in terms of their early form as well. I mean, Chelsea unbeaten, top of the league. City, that early loss to Spurs, a team that Chelsea decimated last week, and then the draw against Southampton at home, which was poor really. They struggled to create chances. They were exposing themselves in the last sort of 10-15 minutes at the back. I thought Southampton really did a job on them there. And I mean, if we sort of isolate that game, this is where it's going to be crucial, is that I expect them to set up very similarly with João Cancelo and Kyle Walker, because they are limited at left back. Zinchenko's obviously been sort of carrying early sort of knocks. He's not like as favoured, I think, as João Cancelo at the moment. I think Pep realises that he needs to get João Cancelo in the team. So I expect this to set up exactly like this. Nathan Ake obviously on compassionate leave recently because of the death of his father. Ruben Diaz, he's obviously gonna slot right in there. He's their number one centre back. Laporte and Stones are both injured, so I actually expect this to be the back four, which is, it's worrying, that, isn't it? I think they are weak there. They can get exposed down this left hand side, I think, quite easily, because João Cancelo, he's one of those fullbacks, kind of like myself, to be honest, in the way I play. Just sort of drifts everywhere, likes to come inside, likes to sort of join the midfield. And by doing that, if Chelsea can sort of isolate this left-hand side, I do think, they'll get joy down here, because Nathan Ake, from what we've seen so far, a bit loose in his position, quite aggressive to get in on the attacker, can get rolled quite easily. Not the tallest as well at centre-back as well, so can get beaten in the air. And I think obviously Ruben Diaz really benefited from a solid partnership last year, so a bit like Shonshu at Leicester, could easily be exposed a bit more there. But I think this is the key position at the moment. Rodri being injured, Fernandinho, terrible game last week, definitely sort of past his best. A bit like when we talk about Kante's game management, you don't want him playing too much this season, certainly not in your big games. City need Rodri fit. If he's playing, if he plays anything close to the way he did last week, and obviously he's got to cover this left-hand side an incredible amount over here, then I could see Chelsea getting a lot of joy. So, yeah. Well, if you compare that to Chelsea, this was them against Spurs. we know how they set up. I've talked about this a lot in terms of their 3-4-1-2. I think it obviously benefits Marcos Alonso the most. And we know how effective he is in a wing-back position. It frees him up because he's got defensive cover from either the defensive midfielder or the free centre-backs that can operate there. He's just been incredible this season, and he just drifts in. It'll be overlaps, underlaps, coming into the box. He sits himself right into the box as well. Almost floods the box and becomes like an extra, attacker, forward player. Very, very impressive. Now, they obviously, a bit like, this is like Alexander-Arnold type of thing, but, Liverpool playing a 4. Is that, you're playing to this guy's strengths. He's so effective going forward that you want to utilise that. His strengths are so useful. They're completely wasted in a back 4, and obviously exposure. And what's the point in sort of playing a lesser formation in a Tuchel side just to get Marcos Alonso out of the team? Absolutely ridiculous. So glad to see him back in playing well. This is obviously the setup at the end of the game. Lukaku obviously would have been in this team at the start. I would expect in the way Chelsea to set up, though. I think Mount, we know how he likes to get on the high press. He's going to be coming over to this left-hand side of City's team, very much so. And then, I expect Reece James with his physicality. He's obviously going to be looking to push on as well. I expect him to be really aggressive down this side. So obviously then, like I say, try and expose the left-hand side of City in terms of the players that are currently playing there. I think Cancelo, if he gets caught up the pitch anytime, Nathan Ake gets exposed on an island 1-on-1, that could be a real struggle. And like I say, the way Fernandinho's been playing and these legs, I don't think he can last more than 45 minutes, playing tip-top to try and obviously cover all this ground. So I think really the only way City are going to win this is for them to keep possessions for large spells, and for their sort of key players. And I expect that the players that I'm talking about are Bernardo Silva, Gundogan, De Bruyne, Jack Grealish to some extent, to leave the left-hand side. Just a bit of interchange in the 3/8 position. Some late runs getting into the box. Like I say, all have an eye for a pass. They're so interchangeable and fluid that I think that's the way they're going to get in this formation, because it's not going to be through pace in behind with the 3 centre-backs at the back and the way they set up there. It's going to be by getting behind Reece James, getting behind Marcos Alonso in these pockets, and then you're looking to play these slide balls through here from oncoming runners through midfield, like a 3/8 to 3/8 kind of system, and that's the way City are going to be effective in this game. Such an intriguing one, but I just fully expect, in terms of the City's injuries, that Chelsea are going to do this one, and obviously that would be a big statement for the season. So yeah, prediction would be a Chelsea win here, but like I say, City could easily win if they get their 3/8s ticking over, and they actually dominate possession and keep possession and try and limit obviously Chelsea on the counter-attack at all occasions there. What do you guys think? What's the score going to be? This is proper exciting. Very much looking forward to this. Leave your thoughts in the comments on that game as well. Please like, share and subscribe. Thanks a lot for listening, and I'll see you in the next one. Ciao.